Welcome to Fantasia, home of the Melodious. My name's Azallea, and today, gonna be bringing you guys another update to my Ritual Melodious deck. So without any further ado, let's just jump right into this. So starting off, we're playing with the Melodious portion of the deck. So we have one copy of Aria, the Melodious Diva. She's not very necessary in this build, but there are certain matchups where she's really strong, and your opponent will have a very difficult time getting over her. So one copy I found was actually pretty decent. Now I'm also playing 3 copies of Soprano the Melodious Songstress, and Soprano opens up your fusion plays as well as helps you recur some resources from the graveyard. So when she's special summoned, you can add one Melodious monster from your graveyard back to your hand, which is pretty nice. And the monster you're most likely going to be interacting with Soprano with is going to be Cannon. So we're playing 3 copies of Cannon the Melodious Diva. So if you control a Melodious monster, you can special summon her straight from your hand. Unfortunately, you can only do this once per turn, but the bright side is that if you have Soprano and you special summon her and add Cannon from your graveyard back to your hand, you can just special summon her. She opens up rank 4 plays, and she opens up the fusion plays because it's a body on the field alongside Soprano that she can use to fuse with. Now, the other engine that I play in this deck is going to be the Agent engine, actually, the Venus engine. So 3 copies of the Agent of Creation Venus, and then we're also playing 3 copies of Mystical Shineball. Now, if you don't like this engine, you don't have to play it, but it is really powerful because Venus is really just a 1-card Saryuja, like a 1-card Saryuja. You don't need any other cards with it. If you open up with Venus, that's great. You can easily use Saryuja, mulligan your hand, potentially special summon some Melodious monsters out from your hand, and then go off from there. Now, you're more likely to see Venus than you are Shineball because the fact that Venus is searchable in this deck, and the ritual portion that searches this card out is very consistent. Like, the rest of this deck is basically just catered towards, you know, getting that ritual summon off, getting Saphra onto your side of the field. But anyway, that is it for these monsters right here. Next off, we're going to go into some of the hand traps, and then we're going to go into some of the ritual monsters. So for the hand traps that we play, this is a honorary hand trap where we're playing 1 copy of Honest. Honest is really nice in this deck because the fact that it is searchable by Cyber Angel Ben 10, just like Venus is. So this is really good because then you can just help your smaller monsters run over some larger threats. We're also playing 2 copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, and we're playing 2 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Now, the reason why I don't play 3 copies of each of these is because the fact that you can only use these cards once per turn. So if you have multiples in your hand, it's not really going to help you out. And this deck has so much draw power that you're very likely to open up with actually 2 hand traps before you end your turn, which is something that's a very common occurrence in this deck. So yeah, that's it for the hand traps. Next off for the rituals, the main portion of this deck is going to be 3 copies of Saphra, the Queen of Dragons. We're playing 3 copies of Cyber Angel Ben 10, very good card by the way, and then 1 copy of Sarvis, the Ancient and Ascended. This is a tech that I like to run, and it is actually very powerful. So Saphra, of course, is very good in this deck because of the fact that she gives you consistency, she helps put a body on the field that's really powerful, and she can help you recover resources as well as draw cards. Ben 10 allows you to search for your light fairy type monsters if she is tributed, so if you tribute her for Saphra, you get a free search, essentially. And then Sarvis right here helps you protect from card effects. You're never going to summon this card because we don't have the ritual card to summon it, but this card is super strong because of the fact that it can protect your monsters from targeting effects. So things like True Draco spells and traps that, you know, try to pop your monsters and things, you can negate those. Potentially, if your opponent just doesn't know what this card does and you just search it out, because you can search it out with Ritual Sanctuary, or you can search it out with Preparation of Rites. It's a light monster as well, which is really good. So Honest, Ghost Ogre, and Sarvis can actually trigger your Saphra, trigger her draw effect, or the adding a light monster from graveyard back to hand effect. So you can always just keep recycling this every single turn with Saphra if you really need that protection effect. But yeah, it's there as a toolbox option, and it is searchable, so it is really good. But yeah, that is it for the ritual portion of the deck. Next off, we're going to go into the spell cards. Alright, so for the spell cards, starting off, we're playing 3 copies of Ritual Sanctuary. This is like the MVP card of the deck. You don't want this to be destroyed. You don't want this to be negated. It is so powerful because not only does it help you search out all of your ritual combo pieces, but it also has a built-in Monster Reborn effect where you can shuffle spell cards from your graveyard back into your deck, and then revive a light fairy type monster from your graveyard with the same number of levels as the number of spell cards that you shuffled back into your deck. So shuffling 4 spells back means you can get a free Monster Reborn on your Soprano, and Soprano can add Cannon back, special summon the Cannon, free rank 4, free Link Summon, or a free Fusion play. So it's just a fantastic card overall, and synergizes really well with this deck. Now, even though Ritual Sanctuary Search effect is only once per turn, we're also playing 3 copies of Terraforming, because Terraforming allows you to basically add free spell cards into your graveyard. Not only does Terraforming count as a spell card, but if you have another copy of Ritual Sanctuary that you search with this, overlap it with the Ritual Sanctuary over here, that's basically 2 free spell cards in your graveyard, and that's halfway there to just getting a free Monster Reborn effect. So the other spell cards that we play that are really easy to fill up the graveyard with are 3 copies of Pre-Preparation of Rites. This helps you search out your Saphra and Saphra's Ritual spell, which we'll get into in just a bit. So it's really, really good. It's a free +1. We're also playing 3 copies of Preparation of Rites, because this card is back at 3 and it's fantastic. This can search out your Ben 10 and your Saravis, which is why I play 3 of it, and it can also recover the ritual spell from the graveyard back to your hand, which is also really nice. So we're playing 3 copies of Hymn of Light right here. So if you open with Ritual Sanctuary, Preparation of Rites, and Hymn of Light, your Ritual Sanctuary can pitch your Hymn of Light to search for like a Ben 10 or whatever, Saphra, and then you can use your Preparation of Rites to search out the other missing ritual card and add this Hymn of Light from your graveyard back to your hand. So it's just a really nice way to be really efficient with your cards and to set up your ritual summons. Now the last spell card that I play in a play set, so as a 3 of, is going to be 3 copies of Called by the Grave. This card is what makes this deck super safe to play now, because you're not afraid of Ghost Diggers, you're not afraid of Ash Blossoms. You can just easily use this card, negate those hand traps, and it's really, really nice. And also you can keep shuffling these cards back into your deck with your Ritual Sanctuary, so you can see them over and over and over again throughout the course of the duel, which is, of course, really nice. Now the last 2 cards that I play in this deck are really text, so we're playing 1 copy of Emergency Teleport, and you'll see why when we get to the extra deck, but this can actually summon your Ghost Ogre from your deck onto your side of the field, which is kind of nice. And I play 1 copy of Monster Reborn, of course. This can help you get back your Melodious cards, your Link monsters, or even potentially your Saphra if you ritual summoned it and she got destroyed. So yeah, definitely really nice recovery plays right there. Okay, so that does it for the main deck. Next off, we're going to go into the extra deck. Alright, so for the extra deck, starting off, we're going to be playing 1 copy of Link Spider. So Link Spider is in this deck because Mystical Shine Ball is a normal monster, so you can just summon your Link Spider with it, and if you potentially drew into more copies of your Mystical Shine Balls, Link Spider can actually special summon them from your hand to your side of the field, so that's a really great way to empty them from your hand without using extra life points from your Venus in order to do so. Even though Venus can summon them from your hand, it's just inefficient. Next thing we're playing is going to be 1 copy of Imduk, the World Chalice Dragon. Now, Imduk is typically used in World Chalice, but even though we don't have any World Chalice cards, it's nice because this only requires a normal monster, except a token, which the Mystical Shine Balls are. And Imduk is a different name than Link Spider, of course, so typically what you'll do is summon your Imduk under the Link Spider, you'll have another Shine Ball and your other Venus on your side of the field, so you can easily go into a Sarija play from there, and that's always very, very welcome. Now, Imduk has an effect that a lot of people don't really know about, and it's that if this card battles with a monster that it points to, so if your opponent summons something above the extra monster zone and your Imduk battles it, it has like a catastrophe effect, so it just destroys that opponent's monster. And it's really nice spot removal if your opponent's just really bad with monster placements, never summon something from the extra monster zone. And yeah, that's basically a little utility that it has, so it's not just used for, you know, climbing into Sarija or something like that. The next cards that we play are going to be some Nightmares, so we're playing 1 copy of Nightmare Cerberus and then 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix. Now these 2 cards are really nice spot removal cards, helps you draw cards as well. They only require 2 monsters with different names, so you can use normal monsters as well. If you used like your Venus and you summoned, you know, your 3 tokens, one of them could be used for Link Spider, and then you can use the Venus herself and one of your Shine Ball tokens to go for your Cerberus or your Phoenix. Phoenix pops spells and traps, Cerberus pops special summon monsters in your opponent's main monster zones, so they both have really good utility, and they can help you potentially draw some cards. And of course, afterwards, you can always just link summon them away and climb into bigger things, or whatever you want to from there. They also have some nice protection effects for your link monsters as well, so that's something to keep in mind if you decide to keep them on your side of the field. Now I'm also playing one copy of Underclock Taker. Underclock Taker is really nice for opening up your main monster or extra monster zones after you've used the Shiberta or used your XYZs, and they're just kind of sitting there taking up space. You can make your Underclock Taker, and then it has a down arrow so you can summon something under it, which is kind of nice. And of course, we're playing one copy of Saryuja. I just don't have a copy of it. And we're playing one copy of Borreload, which I also don't have a copy of. But these two cards are fantastic because Borreload helps you out very problematic monsters on your opponent's side of the field. It's also a great counter to their copies of Borreload. And your Saryuja is really good for just helping you draw into more cards, helping you see more combo pieces. And Saryuja can help you summon monsters out from your hand, which is really nice for helping you swarm the field with your Melodious plays. Okay, so yeah, that does it for these Link monsters right here. Next off, we're going to go into the XYZs. Alright, so for the XYZ, starting off, we're playing one copy of Abyss Dweller. Now, Abyss Dweller is really good because of the fact that it shuts down Gokis, and Goki Nightmares are definitely a deck that's starting to rise up in the ranks, at least topping regionals and seeing a lot of play at YCSs. So that's something to keep in mind. It's a deck that you don't want to sleep on, and you want to have counters to, so Abyss Dweller stops the graveyard effect, stops the Gokis from searching, and all that good stuff. We're also playing one copy of Fairy Cheergirl. Fairy Cheergirl, of course, is really nice for just drawing cards. I don't play Brigente Tsukiyomi like I do in the pure Melodious deck because the fact that, most of the time you're drawing into hand traps and really important things that you really want to hold on to in your hand. And this deck is really consistent, so you don't need too much extra draw power from your extra deck, especially because we have very consistent access to Saryuja. Now, I'm also playing one copy of Tornado Dragon for your spell and trap removal. You can, of course, side deck, Cosmic Cyclones and things for different matchups, but this is just here as a generic toolbox option for if you need to, pop something that's important. Next, we're playing one copy of Utopia, and with Utopia comes, of course, Lightning. Now, the Lightning package is here because, of course, this deck still has some problems getting over larger monsters, namely like 3000 attack beat sticks. So if your opponent has like a Borreload or something, even though Shiberta can reach 3000 attack, we can't consistently run over it without the help of like Aria preventing Borreload from targeting our Shiberta and things like that. So having things like Lightning just helps you out those large boss monsters that might become problematic. So yeah, that does it for the XYZs. Next off, we're going to go into the Synchro and the Fusions. So the Synchro that I like to tech in this deck, and that's the reason why I play the Emergency Teleport, is going to be one copy of FA Dawn Dragster. This card is amazing because of the fact that it can just negate spell and trap cards that your opponent activates. And it's basically for free. You just reduce its level by 2. It brings down its attack points a little bit, but you can always summon it in defense mode, which has 2000 defense. It also has piercing damage, which is kind of nice if your opponent's just trying to stall. And with the new rule changes to tournament play and things like that, it's really nice to be able to just go into the battle phase, inflict a little bit more chip damage to your opponent, and then win because your life points are higher. So that's something to keep in mind. Next, I'm also playing two copies of Shiberta the Melodious Maestra as my last two monsters in the extra deck. Of course, because Soprano needs something to fuse into, and Shiberta being able to control the graveyard and what your opponent has access to is definitely fantastic, especially once, the Brandish Maidens and whatever they're called now, Sky Strikers, once those come out, you can always banish those spell cards and then hinder, like, their power plays. So yeah, that's going to be it for the extra deck, and that's going to be it for the deck profile. So thank you all so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed it or found it helpful, please leave a like, subscribe for more Melodious content, and leave a comment down below letting me know what I can do to improve. And until next time, take care.